New FX in Classic Who. My opinion. Hello and welcome to this week's video. Now this week I just thought I'd give my opinion on what I think about the new effects in Doctor Who, classic Doctor Who that we've had on the DVDs and on the Blu-rays. Whether I think it's at all appropriate or a good idea, and if so, which ones do I think are alright and which ones do I think are completely and utterly bloody unnecessary. Now, another sci-fi guy actually suggested this video a while back. It's probably a while longer than I'm actually recording it because I'm a bit ahead of recordings. Because I've stated my opinions on things like the animations, which I think have gone so far off the reservation that they're kind of redundant at this point because they're not even doing the job that they were originally supposed to do, which was recreate the original episodes as much as they can. Now they're off in Fairyland doing something completely different to that, and they've lost my interest. So he kind of thought, well, what do I think about the optional special effects? Well, I think the key word there is optional, because I guess that's the difference between that and the insane animations. In that, well, there's no optional animation where we can watch a faithful recreation, is it? And no, I don't count fucking telesnaps. The whole point of the animations was that they were there for people who don't like the bloody telesnaps. That's still not an excuse to go completely off the reservation and make something completely unlike the original. So I don't really see the same thing. The fact that they're optional, they've always been optional, the effects on both the DVDs and on the new Blu-ray sets. That kind of makes me go, well, okay, because you're still keeping the original for anybody that wants it. Now, and in some cases, so I'm certainly not blindly against any new effects. I think the only kind of qualm I have is that sometimes they're not very good. Sometimes they're not very good, and sometimes they're okay on their own, but they don't really fit with the production, and you can so obviously tell that it's grafted on new stuff, and that takes me out of it. That takes me out of it far more than a naff effect from something that is clearly part of the original production. It's like this CGI clearly does not belong here. And again, I guess it depends on, and it depends on the skill of on the quality of them, and well, I guess it comes down to personal preference. Some I like and I do watch, some less so, and I don't watch. So now, in terms of the ones that I don't watch, I think there are some that are just either completely unnecessary because the original effects are perfectly serviceable, and it just seems like why, or because I actually think they're actively crap. One of the worst examples, I think, is Enlightenment. Now, I never bothered with it anyway because it's like a special edition version, isn't it? Which was cut down, a precursor to the garbage Daleks colorization. I don't understand that. I just don't understand the appeal of this. It seems to, of course, the idea seems to be to make the original stuff appeal to people with no attention span who like the New Who. But I've never had any desire for Classic Who to be more like New Who because I don't think New Who's very good to begin with anyway. I'd rather New Who was more like Classic Who than the other way around. Sorry, so you immediately lose my interest there. But disregarding that, I just don't think the effects in Enlightenment are very good. And I think the particular irony of it is that they're actually some of the best special effects in the original show. The model work in that is bloody beautiful. There's like one shot that doesn't work, and maybe they could have fiddled with that when they're kind of bringing Turlough on board, which doesn't work. They could have fiddled with that maybe. But to replace all those absolutely gorgeous model shots with just cheap looking fucking CGI, that just seems fucking dumb to me. I just, why? Likewise, the Time Warrior, most of the ones in there are completely unnecessary. The original ones are perfectly serviceable, and honestly, the castle explosion at the end, the CGI one is just shit. Again, the original is perfectly serviceable. I know it's stock footage of something blowing up. It looks more realistic than the absolutely god-awful CGI flame and fire and explosion that we get on the. I don't watch that version because it just looks shit. It looks shit. It's just terrible. It's not just that it clearly doesn't belong. It's just plain rubbish. I'm sorry. The other one is Day of the Daleks. I've seen clips of that. The CGI stuff of the future world. Again, it's like, what the fuck is this? What is this? It's like, it's just going too far to the point where it's like, what? And it clearly does not belong in the story. It's like, what? No, go away. Just go away. Other ones, I'm kind of go more easy on. I mean, the Invasion of Time one, I think works. The new effects are better without going completely over the top and being distracting. I'm kind of in two minds on the Ark in Space and Revenge of the Cybermen ones, you know, with the new Nerva beacon and stuff like that. I'm kind of in two minds about them. I like them on their own terms. I don't think they entirely fit with the production. But, you know, if that doesn't bother you, I can see why you'd go with that. Same with, I like Mordrin Undead. Some of the original ones there are a bit naff, especially the bit at the beginning with Turlo and the Black Guardian in Limbo. But again, I find them a bit too distracting, to be honest. The new ones, they're so obviously not there. They so obviously don't belong there. Oh, and one of the absolute stupidest, of course, is Destiny of the Daleks. I mean, I think the original effects again are perfectly fine. I don't see why it needed any. But the comical part, of course, is that they put special effects in where there aren't meant to be any, which just betrays a complete lack of comprehension of the story. Those ridiculous laser beams they throw in at the beginning when the Doctor and Romana are running along the thing because the ground's shaking. And apparently they were so dumb they thought the ground was shaking because there were meant to be laser beams coming from the spaceship. No, the ground's shaking because of the underground drilling, you dumb fucks. I mean, to me that has got to be one of the most egregious, worst and stupid of the lot. When not only are you replacing effects that don't need to be there, there weren't any effects there, and there weren't any effects there because they weren't meant to be, because the fucking story. Oh fuck me! I mean, that's a level of stupid that you really start looking at these people and going, do you even understand the thing that you're messing about with? Because apparently not. A more recent one that just baffles me was the Fang Rock one on the season 15. Again, I've never considered Fang Rock to be a story that particularly needs any updated effects at all. They're perfectly serviceable. And I think when you get to the point where you're actually starting to change the look of the Rutan as well, again, we're entering into who exactly do you think you are again territory. Yeah, that's not going to be one I'm going to be watching. I'm sorry. What? No. What? Now, there are exceptions. There are ones that I do like, sometimes with a few caveats, sometimes not necessarily. I think Earthshock is mostly fine. I have always been a bit baffled by the design of the lasers in Earthshock. Why do they look like candy canes? that always struck me as bizarre and distracting and off-putting. So I do kind of appreciate the new ones that take that away that, because I don't get it. That being said, I do have a little bit of a problem with the bit at the end where they're shaking where they're shaking the camera on Adric as the ship about to crashes, because that's not changing the effects. That's actually changing the direction. I'm sure if Peter Grimwade had wanted the camera to be shaking as he focused on Adric, he would have shook the camera. He didn't, clearly. So now you're actually interfering with directorial choices. I find that a bit... You're entering into who do you think you are territory at that point to me. Though again, for the most part, I think it's the Earthshock one is good. One of the better ones was Dalek Invasion of Earth. There, I think they do an incredibly good job with the CGI Dalek ships, because they don't look CGI. They don't look overly flashy. They don't take you out of it. The original ones are so crap that they kind of do. So it's kind of like, if you notice it at all, you're more likely to be going, that's a nice effect for a 60s show, because it keeps in tone with the 60s vibe, rather than being, that doesn't belong there. So I do like that one. And probably my favourite update, I think, was the Terror of the Autons one. I think that took a story that I kind of liked, but always had issues with some bits of it, and made it into more of a story that I can really like. The big one thing, of course, was the CSO, because the CSO in that has always been so garish and so terrible that it's always really just distracted and taken me out of the story. And they smoothed it out to a degree that you can still kind of tell that it's CSO, but it's not distracting to the point that it used to be, and I do prefer it. Jury's out on the new doll, but I did, obviously, the Nestine at the end, while perhaps a little too good for the time in the program, it is way better than what we got in the original program, because what we got wasn't even like the thing at the end of Spearhead. It was just a white blob, which is really disappointing. I kind of do vastly prefer the updated ones on Terror of the Autons, which is I mean, there you go. That's, I'm not a hard and fast purist on the updated effects. They're optional, so as long as they stay that way, that's fine. And B, some of them I think are crap, and some of them I think are unnecessary. Some of them I do choose to watch when I watch the story. So it's to me, again, as long as it remains optional and it's up to you which one you want, I don't really have a problem with that. That's absolutely fine. And some of them, again, I even like. Anyway, that's my stance on new effects in Classic Who. Talk to you again soon.